Yeah. You ready? Hey. Let's go. Back. Yo, once again I'm back around. Real shit back in style. Haters reconcile. I'm so black and proud. First class tickets now. Feet all in the aisle. Everybody looking down. Everybody get red when you brown, huh? Looking me up. I'm putting it down. You picking it up. Checking the models. They want us to go to college just so we can be stuck. Go to school to make a living. Or teach yourself to make a fortune. Common sense. Welcome to the apocalypse. I'm one of the horsemen. I don't need your endorsement. I don't need reinforcement. Giving you your last warning. Cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Whoa. Have I gone too far? Do you detect something different? If you look inside my head, would you say something's missing? If you could give all your riches just to say the word, would you risk it? These politicians so old, can't tell if they're dead where they living. Better ask Kathy Griffin. You know I like to raise stakes. We was always taught to hit the gas, we ain't even know they made brakes. We control our own fate, watching dreams take shape. Try to keep us out, we gon' freak out, turn this water cake. I don't need your mandate, don't need you to elevate. I'm about to detonate, cause I'm at my prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Said I'm at my prime. We at our prime. Hey, hey, we at our prime. Yeah. I'm at my prime. Hey, hey, I'm at my prime. Whoa. Said I'm at my prime.
Just get that. Hello, how is everybody tonight? Welcome to carpetpythons.com.au, the channel that specializes in carpet pythons. Just let me know if the sound's right. Let me just go into chat here. Somebody can just drop me a message and just say if that sounds okay. So we'll just hang around a little bit and see who joins and who chats. Let me just open up Facebook here. Because for some reason, and yeah, I'll probably get some feedback now. For some reason, I can't see all the chats going. So there's 12 online already. Yes, Chris, hello. Hello, Mum. My mum's here on holiday, for those of you who didn't know. First time in, I think, 6 years that I've seen her. So, okay, sounds good, yeah. Sorry, it's a little bit dramatic, the intro there, but I like to be dramatic, so yeah. Luckily good, there we go. Lake Macquarie Snake Catcher, hello. Del Harrison, hello. Yes, I think this sounds better than what it was during the week, because I had that plan B going, the Zoom H6, and I was... a little bit of an idiot with that. I don't know. I like everything just needs to plug in, and it needs to go the way I like it to go. I don't like to fiddle with things. I don't like to mess around, and that was just too hard. But I've got a new backup. It's sitting right up there in the back there, that little desk over there. So that'll be my traveling rig. Thank you. Yes, I hope it's in sync. I think this is pretty good. When you put your video and your sound into the same thing, it comes out the other side all blended nicely. So I like that. Back to myself commenting. I don't know. Yeah, we know who you are, so just keep commenting. I don't know. Let me just see if it's coming through on the stream. Let's go to wide view chat so people can see who's in there. So, yeah, who's there? My mum's there. Lake Macquarie Snake Catcher. Hello, Colin. Yes, I don't know. You must go. I don't know. Just go on to it's probably change the setting on your computer or something, and it's not changing back. So we seem to be having 16 people. So I'll give it a little bit more time. There's people out there playing with their snakes. Yeah, a snake as well. Sorry, Mum. There's people out there setting up hatchlings. You know, that's this time of year is so exciting and busy for everybody with their little baby snakes. Yeah, Yeah, I'll put a little bit of. I wanted people to sort of chime in with the show about people who had an effect on them as a keeper, but I needed it to be within a specific time bracket. I think from 2005 to about from 95 to 2005, and then I didn't get didn't get much input there. So we'll touch on the guys that I used to deal with in the good old days when I arrived in Australia. And it was pretty hard finding people those days with a license. So let me just put, I think Facebook, the messages comes through on Facebook real fast. Okay, I don't know. So there's a few of us on now. It's Friday night. I don't expect people to watch this. I expect people to watch after I go live, because a lot of people don't want me to see that they're watching. Oh, Blue Tongues would be great. Oh, the Blue Tongues. Yeah, I watch the show. I posted on my other. So if you don't know, I've got another page called Reptile News. There's Colin, you mate. So Reptile News. I posted a video there of Joe Ball's Blue Tongues when he had that TC Houston. I've been busting to watch that show because I know he was up at Joe, and Joe's pretty selective of what he shows in his collection. And man, I just had to laugh at old TC Houston going through all those Blue Tongues. Sorry, we're talking Blue Tongues, but man, this is that's what stuff that happened today. So I was watching that show, and I couldn't laugh. I just loved that TC Houston's facial expressions when Joe pulled out those Blue Tongues, and he's like, Joe just kept talking and explaining, and TC Houston was like, "Hello, darling. Hello, baby. Oh, look at you. Are you so pretty?" And I'm like, it's typical when you've got such a good collection and you see them every day. It's just like, yeah, whatever, you see them and they go, yeah, okay, it's when you see them every day, no, suddenly they're not that special. But for somebody that doesn't see them every day, it's usually top notch. They can't stop watching. Sorry, I'm not gonna torment you with my gurgling noises again tonight. So I was talking to somebody today, and he mentioned, okay, so let's just touch on, so before I remember I came to Australia, I left South Africa in 2001, and I came to Australia around 2003, 2004. And I remember doing some serious research in, before I came here to reach out, because funny enough, if you move, it's a funny thing with reptile keeping. The first thing that when you go overseas and you move, immigrate or whatever, the first people you reach out to are the people that sort of share that's sort of a mutual interest. And people always reach out to people that have mutual interest to sort of befriend them or whatever. And I remember looking around on the internet to find out, find guys that keep snakes over here in Australia. And I remember getting here, and I remember, man, it was tough. I think the only thing that was on was the Herb Trader was the only place where you could go to really find. And the Herb Trader, that was the only site that people used to sell stuff on. It was crazy. And the Herb Trader, and the Trading Post. And I remember reaching, I think the first person that I got into touch with was, I can't even remember. Yes, let's just stay on topic here for 2 seconds. I know, we'll go through a few things. I've got a few things planned for tonight. So the first person I reached out to was, I think, Russell Grant. And I can't even remember how. I got involved with the VHS. And I think somebody at the VHS gave me his phone number. And I met up with Russell. And I remember seeing his carpet python collection. And in those days, Russell Grant was, and he's a top bloke. Russell, one of the best guys that you will meet in the reptile industry in Victoria, in Australia, in the world, actually. Russell's just a good guy. And I remember seeing all these cool carpets that I've never seen, pure lines of. And it was such an emphasis on purity and locality. And, he showed me jungles, bright yellow and black jungle carpet pythons that were, like a $2,000 snake. This was like 2004. Now you can't sell pure jungle pythons. It's crazy how things have changed. And then I remember Tim Mensforth, Ultimate Reptiles, was around also then, but I think he was more into then still breeding reptiles and selling reptiles. I think I spoke to him a couple of times. It was him, Roy Pales. I remember meeting Roy Pales at a what was the Geelong Herpetological Society? I don't know. I don't think they exist anymore. But That was a good show. We had a lot of drinking afterwards. It was more of a party than anything else. And I remember we had we stayed over at Mick and Mippu's house in Geelong, and I think I met Roy. Roy always attends the show. Like, man, Roy's one of the few guys that I've seen that always supports the expos. He does. I don't think he does much with reptiles anymore. I don't know. He might have. I know he set up a pet shop he bought a big pet shop in in Ballarat, and I remember seeing him. Big pet shop, and I just think it got too much. I think it drains you. When you're in the pet industry and you're in the pet, in that type of business, if you do it for a living, then it sometimes burns you out. I mean, I've seen it myself a few times. It doesn't really burn me out though. It depends on who you get to deal with in that industry. That has an effect on how long you last in it or not. But it was Roy Pales, and I get along with Roy Pales really well. He's a little bit of a rebel himself. Roy, Brian Barnett. I met Brian Barnett he was always involved, and I was always told he was grumpy, real grumpy. And then I met him at one of the expos. I was introduced. They're still coming through. It's just there's a delay on the blue. So, but I met Brian Barnett I had to plan one of I think 2012, I organized the VHS. I was working with him and Phil Elliott and Kevin Wells, all ex and current, ex-presidents of the VHS. And we put together that expo, and that was one of the best expos that Victoria's seen, I think. It just all worked together, worked really well. And that's when I met Brian, and he's just a nice guy. When you get to a certain age, you just tolerate less shit, So, nice guy. We got to work together, and he's one of the big legends in Australian herpetology. I remember I feel like talking a bit about, because we're in that season, I spoke to Brent earlier, and he sort of mentioned, it's hatchling season. He gets hundreds of questions about hatchlings and stuff, and it might be good to touch on a few tips and tricks and things that I've done over the years to get baby snakes to eat. There's quite a few things you can do, and I know, depending on how many, how strong I think it boils down to how strong your lines are that you're working with as well, how many issues and how tolerant you are of runts and things like that. I think a lot of people raise hatchlings that shouldn't be raised. I think we've gotten to a point where everything has to survive. Everything has to survive in a clutch, and we sometimes raise the wrong animals, and those animals go along and they breed again, and they especially with the mutations. I think it's something that we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be breeding animals that are weaker. Hello, Rob. We shouldn't be breeding animals that are, not beneficial for the gene pool. And then we can say mutations. Where do they sort of fit into the well-being of a genetic pool? In captivity. But we can outcross. I've seen it myself. Outcrossing animals. Yes, hello. Outcrossing animals, I think, helps to strengthen those genes that can be deleterious down the line. They can have an effect on. Colin, I agree. I don't think that they should be raised. I think they should, and there's no easy way to say that. There's no easy way to say a snake has to be culled. But I think we're doing the gene pools a disservice to raise those animals that are far less. Like if a snake's not eating, and he has to be assist fed for months and years, and he's always a poor doer, then there's really, I can't justify that they be integrated into future gene pools. I just don't see how that works. And look at, not that I think anything in captivity that is it's dead to nature. If it's in captivity, the rules don't apply anymore. So we can feed them, and we can raise them, and we can we can make sure that they survive and be a little bit fussy with them and stuff, but I don't know if it's a good thing. So I always say, give it your best. I've had snakes that went, I've had stuff that go 9 months without touching a meal. That I maybe assist fed once, and then I did something weird, like, I had a couple of frozen pinky rats, and I just threw them into the cage. The next morning, those snakes that didn't eat for 9 months suddenly ate, I don't know. CO2 is also, toxic shock. I've read a few, I don't think there's an easy way to kill a reptile. I really don't. I think they made to survive low, CO2 low oxygen thresholds. I don't think there's an effective way to kill a reptile. I mean, even the stuff that they do, even the injections that they give them, and they, what's it when they put a needle in their brains? I mean, I know the Afrikaans word for it, but what do they call it? That's going to bother me, but I'll think of it. There is no pithing. So if you pith them, I think it's pithing. I think you say that. You put a big fat needle in the back of their skull, and you scramble the brains, and that kills them dead. Or you can smash their head. Blunt force trauma. I mean, that's another thing. The guys are just slow it down, guys. Breathing into normal blood or pure blood, re-strengthening can work too. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So I just don't think that they should be. I mean, we've got everybody's. Just always remember. It's just my opinion. I really but I've worked with enough of them to know that some of them just shouldn't be going forward. So you've got your hatchlings. Let's get into things that can go wrong and things that can go right. Okay, so ideally, I would start feeding a hatchling snake. I wouldn't be pushy. Things like, I've noticed that certain mutations and certain types of snakes eat faster than others. And I've seen that coastal, big chunky coastal carpet python babies and bredli and bredli, they eat straight up. I mean, first feed, no issue. And then you get things like jungles that will, just because they're so angry, they won't go near food. And that's just because of their temperament. So what I found with them is, it's a tough one. You have to decide whether you're going to mess with them with live food, or whether you're going to mess with them if you're going to put them straight onto defrosted food. And I've always found that defrosted is the first path. So that's pretty straightforward. I've seen people take them out and put them in baths of water. The rats to sit in there and defrost. I used to just take them. I used to buy them in bags of 100, and what I do is I would take out 100 mice or subadult mice. I always start carpet python. So the size of food's also important, but I'm going to try and structure this so we start at the start and we end at the end. So size of food's important. I've seen people start with pinky mice. Pinky rats, and at the end of the day, I think a carpet python's made, a hatchling carpet python's made to eat something that is worth eating. So, if the caloric reward is not, if the caloric reward is not an incentive for it to feed, if it's a small meal, then there'd be no incentive for it to feed. So what I used to do was I used to buy 100, bags of 100. Adult mice or subadult mice, like half size, like a decent size. I mean, I'm trying to try for scale. So as an iPhone, I'd say half an iPhone size, without, some of them would take one with adult size mouse straight up, and some of them would take, depending on the size of the snake as well, like a hatchling jungle python that's normally smaller than a coastal, you'd feed something smaller. But coastals never had an issue. I mean, jaguars. I mean, and then we get to them. Then you get to the mutations. You get the jaguars, easiest snakes ever to eat. I've never had. I've never had a jag. Not one or two, maybe out of the few hundreds a couple of hundred. I've made a lot of them. I'm underestimating how many I've made of them. But jags, they don't seem to have an issue to eat. And with a jaguar, like a coastal carpet, something big, I'd start on a 3/4 grown mouse. And that's a reward. You know, the snake, I've not seen a carpet that refused that size meal. You know, and I look on Facebook and I see people asking, advice on what size meal to feed their snakes. And they've got a carpet python and they've got like this teeny tiny, I said breeders' behavior can change babies' behavior too. I've seen, yeah, of course. I mean, you have to be confident. Any reptile, you have to be confident around them. Otherwise, you know, they also act, it rubs off on them. Like most animals, you know, you need to have that certain confidence. I've got a few videos and a few things here that I can show as we progress. Please ask questions. If you've got a question, if you want to make a point, everybody can see the comment on. I'm sure people can read the comment. I think that's big enough. Is that big enough? Can you read what's going on there? And if you've got something to add it. You know, we're here to learn. This is going on to YouTube as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go and give it a like, or please go and subscribe. I'm going to try and sort all the shows out to be grouped into different folders, or I don't know. I'm still learning how YouTube works, but I'm going to try and organize them so that the topics are sort of arranged in the same place. And then when you need to go and cross-reference something, and please, there are millions of ways to do stuff. So please, the guidelines I'm giving you here is my opinion. I don't say I'm not for holding a gun to anybody's head, but I've dealt with enough of these things to have a vague idea how to get them going properly. You know, and we'll try and cover everything there. If you need to ask something, please ask something. Yes, I'm subscribed to you. I've subscribed since I found out that you had a channel. So yes, I have subscribed to your Wildborn Oz. Okay. Yes. Okay. So let's move on. So food. I used to just take the mice out and just sit them on a table in a room, and they just defrost slowly over. Like I'd take it out the night before, or I take it out the afternoon. And with mice, they usually defrost within an hour, a couple of hours maybe, if they're especially in your snake room. So if your snake room's nice and warm, and if you've got enough snakes, room's nice and warm. And I've never had issues with food poisoning and snakes dying because the meals went off and whatever. But I find it a lot better than taking those mice out of, drenching mice and rats out of tubs of hot lukewarm water and feeding the snake, and then they bursting everywhere and there's guts going everywhere and whatever. Far easier, and it's water and blood, and it's a hygiene. It's just a hygiene issue. And I know a lot of people do that. I'm not telling you to stop doing that, but I'm telling you what worked for me and what made my life a little bit easier to keep the hygiene protocols up, because I'm all about, I'm fussy with hygiene. So mice, rats, let me just see. Lockie. I wanted to go and get my hemostats, but I think I've got it on one of the videos that I've got here. So, and I never used to feed hatchling with my hands. I always had a hemostat, one of those long scissor-like tweezers, you know, big, long, 30 centimeter one, so you can get some distance between you, so the snake's not distracted by your body heat. And I never had issues with baby snakes. We'll cover the stuff that can go wrong soon. So you adjust the size of the meal. You know, sometimes they're just not ready. You'll notice, you know, some babies or some hatchlings. If I refer to them as a baby, please don't crucify me on the. You know, I'm the hatchling young snake. You know, like I know, you know, semantics. So what I used to do is that I used to just, you know, try with defrost first. Whoever doesn't eat defrost, you let them go another week. So I never used to fuss. So first round of feedings I used to do within, say, 4 weeks. So maybe I was let them go for a month so they absorb. The ones that are, sometimes a hatchling will climb out of an egg and had a big lump of the yolk still stuck in the egg. And those hatchlings always climb out slightly skinnier, and they don't have that much nutrients in them. And those guys always struggle with that first shed. So you have to make sure that you keep an eye on those teeny tiny hatchlings, or those hatchlings that didn't absorb the yolk properly. You need to watch them, and you need to make sure that those sometimes need to get that first shed removed, or to shift that first. And people look at them like, this is all stuff that I did. And I learned through mistakes. I noticed that these snakes, if you let that first skin sit and it doesn't shift that skin, it ends up killing them. There's for some reason that is vital for them to move to get rid of that first skin. So what I used to do, so eventually what I started doing was when I noticed that everybody shed and there's some of them that had a skin that didn't slough, I used to feed them a small pinky rat or something. You have to give them a substantial meal. So a pinky rat down the hatch. I'll show you a video soon of how I used to assist feed. We'll call it assist feed because, the force feed has become an offensive thing these days. And, that's what I call them. And then they changed the name to assist feed. And I know some people just put the mouse's head inside the snake and the snake starts eating. I've never seen a carpet do that. Maybe a half-retired jag would do that, but I've never seen a carpet just start nomming the food down. So here's a question: how long would you wait to shed it? I'd wait. I'd leave it. If it comes, I'll leave it maybe another. I'll give one food cycle. I'd wait till the next food cycle. If they still don't eat, then I'd give them a meal. It's better to be safe with that type of stuff because I've seen hatchlings just go downhill real quickly. I found if your difficult feeder isn't eating up to frequency of when you offer food, so instead of offering food once a week, offer twice or 3 times. Yeah, sometimes they just don't. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about black-headed pythons. Are totally different. Black-headed pythons, man, they're horrible things to get eating. Some of them are easy, but a lot of them are just total psychopaths, and they just want food in a specific way. So we had a chat. I'll sorted him out. I forgot to ask him actually if those things started eating. Well, I'm pretty sure they would start eating soon. But it's a time thing. With some part, especially with hatchling that had a real big gut full of yolk, those things can go for months without feeding, and that's why they have that first. So sometimes they have those. So they climb out of their eggs right when food supply is low, and then they go through so they go through a slow down period in nature. So they have to have that reserves in their guts so they can survive through the cooler months of the year. So help that guy shed, keep an eye on him, and that's why we keep a little record. So if you can put a note, I used to use sticker, what's those yellow little cards, post-it note on every tub. So I used to keep them in racks. Let me just see if I can find... just go to the wide view and see if I can get my image slide. So I've got, let me just move this. Let's put it, so you'll just have to bear with me. So we'll put that over here so we can still see. So that's hatchling with a fresh yolk stalk protruding still. And they tend to suck that into their guts. You just have to let them, and that's why we put them on something that's moist. They'll absorb that within a couple of hours, and then they'll move on. And you'll get these guys that just, and this is a lot of people that cut. We cut the eggs, and sometimes when you are too overexcited and you keen to see the little snake come out, then too much disturbance around the eggs. They sort of triggered to all come out at the same time. That's what so that they swarm the area where they are. So if there's predators around, some of them fall victim and some of them escape. That's why they do that. That's why reptiles climb out of holes all together. It's like an army. So it's like cannon fodder. Some of them die, but there's a higher chance to escape and survive if they all do it in numbers. So the problem is some of these hatchlings climb out earlier, and if the eggs are cut open all the way, then they sometimes get disturbed and these hatchlings start crawling out. And then they tear. If you cut, and this is why I used to cut V-shaped, like little hatches into eggs, like a V-shaped one. And what I saw was that they used to climb out and they used to hook their yolk on the tip of where the V is, and they used to rip. See, so this is all stuff that I learned through trial and error, losing baby snakes, because once they rip that off, if you don't act on that, they usually just bleed themselves out. They bleed to death. So what I used to do is I used to have a little, like a real sharp, like a sharp-nosed scissor. And what I used to do just on a gas stove, when that happens, I used to warm that little scissor right so it's red hot. And what you do is you just hold the little stalk, lift it up, and you just give it a snip. And you cauterize all those little veins on there and it stops bleeding straight away. And then they still absorb that. And because it's so red hot, there's no infection there or anything. And I see people tie their strings around it. And that's stuff that I've tried. But that method is, you know, you have to be careful. You have to better to have 2 sets of hands to do that and stuff. But you cauterize it off and you have no further issues. Let me just make sure that I've got all my pictures open here. So, because for some reason it doesn't want to show all the photos, so we'll go through. So there's just a close up of that. You can see all the veins and all the big vein running through the middle of that, and that's not cool. If you just move this up so you can see. Okay. So yeah, so you can treat that. And the sooner you get to it, the better. That's just a yolk that's dripping off it, but it's not a good situation to be in. So we'll jump to, we'll say the climate of the eggs, that was regressing a little bit. That was just a tip to, handle that type of situation. But when they get out, I used to keep them in a very basic, so those are Antaresia, little granite max. So I used to keep them in just a basic setup. That's Aspen. I think it's Aspen. I'm not a big fan. I think it's hard, when they swallow it, it's hard. I tried that stuff out because Damien was starting to sell it in New South Wales. He sent me a sample and he asked, look, do you mind just trying it out and letting me know what you think? I use the Aspen. I know a lot of you guys use the Aspen, and a lot of people swear by it. Let me just see here. I think it's going, but definitely agree on patience. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm sure you guys can read I'm just making sure I stay on top of all the messages here. So I usually used to have no hides, no nothing. I made sure I covered the back of the rack. So I'd have the back and the sides of the rack. I used to cover them with you get these tiles, these puzzle tiles at Bunnings. I think it's $10 a pack or $12 a pack, and I used to just connect them to each other, and then you can still access areas in the rack once you've. I used to just hang them on the side, so I'd connect those tiles together, hang them on the side of the rack on cable ties, and then if there's an issue, you just disconnect and you have a look and whatever. And I found that on vision racks, I used to use a lot of vision racks. I found that on vision racks, that kept the temperature in well as well. That's one big thing with vision. It's a great racking system, but if you've got airflow in a room, it can sometimes knock around your thermostat and temperature on individual levels and stuff. So to just insulate the sides and the back seems to give you a little bit more control of that. So just a basic water bowl. I used to always have hundreds of water bowls to wash, and at one stage there was just so many snakes that I just went, nah, I can't do this. I can't do it's just wasted time. So I think you can buy those deli cups. I think the 440ml fits perfectly into the Hatchling Vision racks. I've got and you can get 500 in a box. And what I did with that, I'd get 2 uses out of them, and then I'd recycle the rest. Much easier. Let's just see what's next. Oh yeah, okay. So that's just a nice clutch that I made. That's the first of Axanthic Jags. I think it's Axanthic Jags. No, that's just zebra jags. So see the round holes. So I ended up waiting for the first one to pip, and then I cut round holes, and that gives them sort of a little bit of a way to get out of there without ripping off that. But they still do it. They still find a way to manhandle that yolk sac and just rip it off. You have to just make sure that you cut it as soon as you can see bubbles and stuff coming out of it. That's usually when they start breathing. You can see, and in the albumin, there's these little bubbles that form in there, and that's when they start breathing. And then okay, let's cut lids. Easy as that. Let's see what's next. Okay, and then I had these striped things that I hatched, and they had this big fat. A lot of them came. I don't know what caused that. I mean, to this day, I don't know what caused that. But I thought they were fantastic looking. Some of the best carpet pythons I've ever seen. But they all got out, and I just make sure if they climb out and they've still got that big yolk sac on there, just make sure that you keep them on something wet because it tears off. As soon as it dries out, it desiccates. It causes an issue. Okay, here's the racks. So You can see just the water bowl. It's all albinos down there. Let me just move this picture. Sorry, I tried to work this out, but all the photos are formatted in different sizes. So I had this easy barcode on. I think it was the date when they got born. What mutation. Abbreviated letters for what they were. Het. 100%, whatever. You just need to and I think that was a Dymo. You get a Dymo. It's a Dyno label printer. It's like a little hub that sits on your desk and you connect it to your computer and it prints out these perfect little, I think it was 20 mil labels high, and that fits perfectly on the vision racks, and it just gives you some order, that's the big thing. With hatchling snakes, you have to have a system to record when they ate. I used to just write on that. I used to get water. I used to get the pens, the textures that you can erase, with water, you just wipe it off, whiteboard textures. And I used to just write on there, and you can start at the top left and you just write like on a piece of paper and you just say, date and feed it. No, yes, no, yes, no. I mean, I don't need to know because I was feeding the same size food to majority of them. I made sure that, you don't have to mouse, rat, bloody, they eat what I feed them or they don't eat at all. It's as simple as that. So there's all the all the millions of water bowls stacked. So you can get yourself a table. Always have a table where you can stack your water. And I think the best thing that a person can do in his snake room is to have a tap with warm water and cold water, hot water. And that cuts out so much drama. Nice big sink. You can wash. You can wash up there. You can fill your water bottles there. You can fill your water bowls, and you put your hatchling racks. Well, how I set it up, the hatchling racks were right next to. So it went from hatchling racks close to the water, and your adults a little bit further away, because then you can. Adults don't need to. I mean, I never used to. I think I changed my adults' water bowls maybe once a week. Because they're tough. These snakes are tough. They don't have somebody running after them with a water bowl every day. But they do have mist and dew and stuff like that they drink in nature. So you have to clean a water bowl. You can't just top it up. I mean, I get so annoyed. I see people with water bowls and they, let me just see. I see people, with expensive snakes, and I've visited them, and, it's so easy to see if a water bowl's dirty. You run your finger in the bottom, you put your finger down, touch the water. If it's slimy down the bottom, then that water bowl hasn't been cleaned for at least a month. And that's unacceptable, because the one thing that animals like is fresh water. Sorry, I've got my thing. And for the longest time, I used to mist my hatchlings. I used to have a hose with a fine mist attachment, and I used to open the racks every day and mist the sides of the tubs, and the hatchlings would drink every day, and they'd get the humidity kick. So once a day, that's when I had numbers that were manageable, and then I ended up with water bowls. But there was always fresh water, and I could see the difference. When you don't, when they start to shed funny, and that's normally just because there's a lack of fresh water. You might be a water bowl there with water in it, but the snake's not going near it, and then you can usually see the poor sheds and stuff. I need to sit up. Sorry, I had a long day at work today. Okay, let's just see. Just some of those guys when they started eating. I thought they were nice. All dead now. Okay, then we'll go through this. So I'll close this down. Just for a little bit. Let's just see. I'm hoping it keeps the slide there. Okay, we'll just have to cycle through the slides again. So let me just go wide view chat. Let's see what's going on here. Yes, that's fine. When they lose when you cauterize the yolk stalk, it's all good. Okay. Yeah, so those label makers, man, so affordable. I think they're down to like $90. You can't go wrong. And you buy the rolls of fake. You don't have to buy the Dymo rolls. You go on eBay and you find they could be 25 mil, 22 or 25 mil wide. And then only like just enough. Connect them to your computer. You do all your labeling on there, bang, you do it once and it's all done. So where were we? So this could be so much to know about hatchling snakes. So you set them up basic. You can put in a little hide. I like these little black hides that are about that have the little hole, that they import from Pakistan. I think there's a guy that I'm not sure who imports these things anymore, but there's quite a few options for that. Upside down egg carton I've used. They like that because they can wiggle in there and feel the egg carton rest on their backs. And you just take it out. Egg cartons are good for a lot of things. I've used egg trays, the big square egg trays that have that handle like 48 eggs. You cut that thing in like 4, and you can get 4 hides out of that. You stick them in. If it gets shat on, you just chuck it out. Get the next one, and you can buy them for $30. I reckon $30 you can get you a pack of 80 or 90 of them, and you just cut those things up with a Stanley knife. You don't have to be fancy with hatchling snakes. It's not you don't need hides. There are disposable water bowls. Bang, in, out, bang, clean, gone. Make sure you send them to get them recycled. You got your water, you got your hides, and then you just need those long tongs. I might go and quickly see if I can find mine. I've had mine for like 25 years. It's one of the few things that I've had for always. Let me just find out. Ma? Oh no. Nobody's around. They're hiding. They know that I'm on radio today. Are things going right? Is there anything that I could ask? Is there anything I can help you with? I'm just running with this, ad-libbing. Like I'm not the type that I should have a format or whatever. But there's just so much to talk, and if you don't, if you guys don't ask, then I can't tell you. And this is all just based on experience over many, many years of doing it. So, okay, so you're feeding them mice. Some of the hatchlings, I found that albino carpet pythons are very sensitive to feeding and they're not very aggressive. They don't strike at the food. You'll put a mouse and they'll sort of sniff the food, and then they'll open their mouth and then they'll start eating it. I have found that a lot of the more aggressive hatchlings would go for the meal, grab it, and then you'll think that it's starting to take it, and then they'll spit it out, and then that will be a whole cycle. So what I used to do is I used to have sections. I used to do the ones that would eat on their own. I used to do them first. I used to fit. Well, we'll get to that. That's totally. David, I'll cover that maybe in another show. But let's just talk about the hatchlings first. So, what was I saying? Okay, so some of them will take food easily. Some of them, so you sort your nights out so that you cover your easy guys. You do the ones that eat freely first. Then you set aside a night that you can work with the guys that don't like their food, so that are not keen feeders. And those are the ones that you take a section 5 at a time or 10 at a time, and you work with them. The ones that strike and let go, those there's no easy way around it. You just have to let them. If they bite it, you have to stand dead still, or put them in a position where bite and you move back quickly and you stand back. I used to have 5 or 10 tubs with ones that were hanging out of there, or they were half where they were striking and grabbing and letting go and stuff. Man, some of these things would take you hours to get done. But at the end of the day, you might have to do this once or twice or 3 times, and then you just chuck them. When you can throw a mouse in and just come around the next day and it's gone, that's when you've sort of won the battle. And some of them just don't go. Albinos, man, the amount of albinos that I've assist fed over the years, just because they are terrible, Funny thing is, an albino jaguar, easy. They take food, no problem. Albino zebra jag, those type of things, they're all very straightforward. Nero, let's see, hi George. Okay. And then you eventually get to it. The jungles, the angry jungles, man. Also, same thing. Either too angry, too amped up. But they eventually, you just have to keep persisting, and they'll eventually eating. They'll eventually start eating. Now with stuff that that just refuse. I mean, if they refuse, if it's 6 months in or 4 months in and they're refusing, and it's something, like I don't know, it's getting back to the start of the show. How much time do you waste on a snake before you give up? A lot of you, if it's your first snake or second, so this is the thing. If you buy your first snake and it's not feeding, then you've bought from the wrong person. That's why I can recommend, there's a handful of guys I can recommend to buy your first snake from that put in the long yards that start feeding them straight off. I mean, I've met a few guys that, as soon as I used to go a month, but to me it was never a rush. But then I've got mates, or I know guys that would start within a week, 2 weeks, 10 days out of the egg, and they'll start offering food. And the majority of them would start taking food. Hold on. I'll have to somebody asking a question here. Just put it on silent. Where were we? Sorry, I'm getting off track here. How long are we going for? Let me just check. Please ask questions if you want. I'm sure normally these shows get more traffic and more views after it was live, and it is Friday night, of course. Let me just see how long it's been going. We're going for an hour. My goodness, time flies. Okay, so let's just quickly look at. So when they get to the point where you have to assist feed, I've got a little video here that we can quickly have a look at. So hopefully this works. So I'll try and explain to you what's happening. So you start off with your hemostats, your round-tipped tongs. The tongs are not there. I like to use a hemostat because it gives you a little bit more control. I've used tweezers to use big long tweezers with round-tip tweezers in the past, but I find that hemostats work the best. And this is how I used to do it. So let's just have a look at this video. Hopefully it plays. Okay, so dip the head in, push the pinky's head in right till behind the jaw with your hemostats. And then I used to wet the pinky in water a little bit. And then you grab it and you just push it down. And then you just go with your thumb. And you just guide that sucker down. You'll see right about there'll be resistance. The snake, see how it twists its body there? Just push it down, and I make it look hard. I make it look rough, but I'm not. Being that, we'll watch it again. Okay, and then all the way to the bottom. We'll just watch it again. So behind the neck, into the mouth, and this has taken me. I've sort of perfected this over time. Just get it in there. Shove it in, grab the pinky, put it in, past the jaw, then you just put your thumb in there, and you just gently guide it down. There's sort of a depression that forms behind the mouth, and you have to take it past that point in the snake to make sure that they take the food right into the stomach. So there we go, all good. And then that snake won't regurgitate that. No ways that snake will regurgitate. You'll see so that's the way to do it. Assist feeding fast. The problem is with assist feeding is you need to do it as fast as you can, so you limit stress on the animal. So if you're going to mess around for 10 minutes with one snake assist feeding it, you're probably damaging that snake more than just going another week of waiting for it to get hungry. That's really a last resort. And with that snake with the hatchlings that I used to work, I would wait 3 months. If they're still not eating well, and it's something that's worth, it's not really, it's terrible to say it's something that's worth money, because I did that with any snake that I had, but some of them just, you put more effort in than others. And I'm sure a lot of you guys understand, some things are worth more, and, you try harder, but a lot of them just start eating by themselves, no issues. They just go by themselves, and that's it. So, force feed, assist feed, that's why I've never assist feed with a carpet python. I'm still to see what that looks like. So let me just see. So I've got another video. So after they start eating, I'd feed once every 10 days, maybe, depending. You don't want to, you want to get them to go. You want to get them going as fast as you can, as soon as you can. And then once they're taking food regularly, then you can sort of taper it back. But, if it depends if it's something that you're holding back, you feed more. If it's something that you're going to sell, then you can feed it. I don't know. Depends on who you are. You feed it as much as you want, as much as your wallet allows you. But if you've got 500 hatchlings and you need to come up with 500 mice every week, it becomes tough. Trust me, it's not an easy thing to find 500 mice at a reasonable price in Australia. So a lot of people breed their own mice and they stockpile those mice over time. So, but I found that with the way that I used to give them that 1 or 2 pinky mice, and I used to go with that size, like a pinky rat size in a carpet. It's easy. It goes right, and it just gives them enough nutrient to kick them into digesting food, and then their metabolism kicks in, and then they start getting hungry, and then they start going. So we'll have a look at it. So there's other issues that can come up. I mean, a few of the things I don't see many people talking about it because I don't think they know what they're dealing with. So I've seen over time. So what I'll do is so another thing. Let me just start the slideshow again. So bear with me. I need to just quickly go through these pictures again, just so I get to where I wanted to go. So at some stage, sometimes they, when they're malnourished to a point, then sometimes the accidents can happen. I mean, I have assist-fed hatchlings, and they've had damage, where the skin tears and the pinky mouse comes through the skin and whatever. And what I've done in the past, like the first time I did it, I was stressed out. I contacted Shane Simpson. I said to him, look, what do I do? His practice wasn't open. It was a Sunday. And I ended up saying to my wife, I said, just bring the super glue. We'll stick this. We'll stitch it together. I think we stitched it up that first one. We stitch it up. I had a big hole, a big long tear in the skin because it was just that malnourished that the skin tears. There's nothing holding that skin together. So, but there's no blood in a snake. It's very little blood in a snake's skin. The extremities. So what I did with that first one, I just, I sutured it up, and Shane was saying, look, we need to get the esophagus reattached and all that stuff. And I just, it was a fun, by the time, if I waited till the Monday, the snake would probably have been dead. Or it would have, it was just easier to do that. And funny thing was, I think 3 months went by, that snake took a mouse by itself. It went through a shed cycle, and it just shed the stitches, everything off, And then from there on, we decided to just, when we had accidents like that happen, I just ended up using super glue and just sticking the skin together and just letting the snake go. And that used to heal perfectly and start eating by themselves. It's almost like they scared shitless that they're going to die, So, I mean, that's just the after it had a shed, it's the blood flow to that area that it's trying to recover and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see that happen. But always be careful. I just want to delete some of these photos quickly, so bear with me. And then hopefully it allows us to have a look at some other pictures because there's so many. I don't know why it's only allowing a certain amount of photos. So we'll delete this, and we'll just add files. Okay, so we've done that snake. Let's take it a little bit at a time. Okay, so and then of course you got to get your eggs that go off, and usually it's just, I see people say, oh, they've got this, they opened the egg and the snake was patternless and whatever. Yeah, because it was underdeveloped, normally the issue. And if you pull a snake out like that, I mean, all you have to do is look at the head and you realize, but that's not it's not that far away from development. Probably stop growing because of issues inside the egg, or, it's some developmental issues. And then, so there's nothing, he's got little black eyes just because the eye hasn't formed properly. So nothing special there. So don't get overexcited unless you, in the last day of incubation and the egg head sticks out and it looks like that and it's a fully formed snake, then you can sort of assume that was something new if it died. Let me just add some more photos here. Add files, and let me just check what else is here. So this was an interesting case with a xanthic. What's an xanthic jaguar, I think. Okay. So sorry, the photos. Let me just see if I can rotate that photo. I don't know why it's on its side. For some reason, it's. Let me just see. Okay. Let me just rotate this counterclockwise. Sorry, guys. The counterclockwise. Is it counterclockwise or clockwise? Okay. So I noticed with a few carpets, like a few in over time, I've seen have got this like almost feel bloaty and solid. And I don't think I haven't seen many people see this. Like I've seen I noticed that some of these babies had this real firm area in their stomach, right about where the yolk stalk, where where that little stalk got retracted after it hatched in its stomach. Where the little, it's like where the navel is. I don't know what that's called on a snake, but I think what happens is they don't absorb the yolk properly. There's some issue with them absorbing the yolk. So that in ball pythons, they call it hard belly. So what I've seen is the snake usually gets this bloaty look and it's rock hard in there. And when you look at it, like I used to just apply slight pressure, you can work it, but you need to be very gentle. Otherwise you'll rip its intestines right out. So otherwise, the other thing is if you leave it, they just die. They can't do anything with it. It just forms hard, it gets infected and they die. So what I did with a few of these little carpet pythons, if you maneuver that hard lump slowly over a few days, backwards and forwards, but it seems to get dislodged. Now, do it at your own risk. Please don't come to me and say, "Oh, I did what you said and the snake died," or whatever. Not 100% of the time, these snakes just die. So if you manage to get that out without damaging the snake and it survives, then it's a bonus. All right. I just noticed it and I thought, gee, that's an odd thing to do. So when you squeeze it, you can see it's like almost like a fatty tissue that's, part of the yolk that just firms up in there, that they just cannot do it. So you squeeze it, and that's what the stuff looks like that came out. So it's crazy stuff. It's real hard. It doesn't smell like anything, Not that I sniffed it, but it doesn't smell like anything. And I've got a video that I can show you as well of the process. So don't say that you came here and you didn't see anything cool. Where's the video? So this is what the video looks like. So it's a quick video. So I just really push it out gently. Literally that. Gross looking things, isn't it? But that stuff can kill your snake. So that's some of the complications that you can find when it comes to hatchlings. Let me just see what else I've got here. Oh yes, there's some more stuff here. So bear with me. And I'll quickly add some more photos here. Control all. Delete, and then we just add some more stuff. So I'm sure you've seen some defects. I've got a really, really cool defect here that I found. So I haven't had many defects when it comes to baby snakes. It's a rarity. Where is this guy? I don't know why the photos are not in. Oh, okay, hang on. Let me just go here to this. And let me just check. Sorry, for some reason the pictures didn't sync. So I had a photo here of a snake that okay, let me just check. Why are these photos here not there? Okay, but in any case, so you get your occasional defect, and this card here. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to the screen. So let me have a look at this live view. So if something gets defect, I don't think if any reptile should be allowed to stay alive if it's born defective. 2 heads, hearts beating outside. Normally they die. That's the only other thing that I can think of that can happen. I did find something cool though. Like in some of the first, I had a snake escape once, a hatchling escape, and like they say they are so capable of finding themselves food. So I had an Axanthic zebra jaguar that escaped one day. I thought there was a number. I thought there was one missing, and then I was like, I'm sure there was one extra. I don't know where it went. So I just thought, maybe I just miscounted or whatever. And then I was going through the racks one day, and I smelled something was off. And I looked through all the tubs, couldn't find a dead mouse, couldn't find a dead snake. And I just kept smelling this something dead. So eventually I did some, I pulled the tubs out or whatever, and I found a snake, a dead snake. A dead albino, like... It's always the pretty ones that something happens to. So I found this little dead snake. So I'll also show you. So I found this little dead zebra jag, and it looked like he'd eaten. And I thought, but there's no mice. There's no way that this snake. So I opened it up, and I found a wild mouse in it. Like that snake lived in between the racks there. I didn't even know it was out. I thought it was out, but I couldn't find it. So I thought, maybe I just miscounted. Because they caught a wild mouse. So it shows you these things are made killers. Like they are. We sort of underestimate how much. And this is in Victoria. So this was in a rack in a snake room. There was a wild mouse in there for some reason, and it's ended up dying at the mercy of the snake. It ended up killing the snake. I think the snake just couldn't. I think he just couldn't digest the mouse. I don't think you could get to a warm enough spot, or it maybe got stuck somewhere or whatever. But I thought that was interesting to see a little fresh hatchling that's never eaten, in my case, just find food for itself and hunt by itself. It didn't even need any assistance. And why would they need assistance? That's just even silly to say that. So just delete. Let me see if I've got anything else. So yeah, so those are the things to keep an eye out for when it comes to hatching snakes. Always make sure you watch that first shed. Very important. Set them up minimalistic. Set them up with a tub of water, little egg carton hide. Bedding. I used to just keep them on paper. Make sure you watch them. Don't be too eager to get food into them. Take your time. Take it easy. And then start getting into them about a month in. I reckon a month in is a good time frame, because that gets them really hard. And for some reason, a hatchling that hasn't eaten can last a lot longer than a hatchling that has eaten. It's almost like as soon as their metabolism gets triggered, then their body requires food. And if it hasn't been triggered, then they can go longer for it. I mean, I might be talking the biggest load of shit. I don't know, but I'll put it out there. You guys think if you guys think that's nonsense, tell me if you think it's nonsense. But I don't want to hold this up too long. I've got a big 40th birthday party, my wife's birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Nicole. I think she's already given up on the show because she never liked carpet pythons. I hope everybody's well. Thank you for watching tonight. It's still in the early stages of this stream, and I hope people can benefit. If there's any questions, ask me now, because I'm feeling tired as well. So I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to let people not come back to the show. So it's been an hour and 20 minutes, and I hope this sounds better. I really tried hard to make sure that you get a quality show here. And quality information. I did try I might put some feelers out and see if we can do a show about maybe get some of these guys that's been in the industry in the early days, because I only found out that New South Wales only got their licensing. I think Faye said to me that New South Wales only got their licensing system established in 1997. So we've come a tremendous way in the last. Yeah, no worries, mate. I mean, I'm sure that over time it will grow. It's still early days. I'm glad you're watching. I don't think I've met you before, but it's still early days, And I think there's a lot to. I think it's a good platform to discuss carpet pythons. But it's amazing to see how far we've come. I just look forward every year breeding season because we are moving into territory now where the rest of the world hasn't been. And I can't wait to see some of the stuff with some size on them. I'm hoping to attend some of the expos I'm hoping to go up to Penrith because it's a good show and there's quite a few international guys coming down there. And it'd be good to catch up with some of the guys I haven't seen in 5, 6 years, 7 years even, you know. What does George say? Does heat play a big factor in hatchlings to start eating? Yeah, I'd say it does. You know, I'd say a good thermal gradient plays a big role in it, and it depends on where you put your hide. I always used to put my hides over the hot spot, you know, or make it at least half the cage, so they are sort of forced, you know, and it gives those egg crates are really good because they can perch on top of them and hunt and they can lie underneath them and feel the egg crate push down on their backs. And then if they choose to be on the, you know, ideally you should give them cover on the cold and the warm side, so, and to make sure that they can, you know, to make sure that they can choose where to go. But if their hide's sitting on the warm side, then more than likely they'll start eating faster. So I'm definitely temperature definitely plays a big role in any snake eating, and the room temperature. I think the room temperature is even more important. So if your room is constantly sitting around 28, and I mean if you've got a large collection with lots of snakes, then you know you walk into a snake room and it's warm, and they thrive in there. It's these rooms that have 1 or 2 cages in it that the thermostats are struggling to keep warm. The person doesn't have a temp gun or can't control the ambient room temperature, and I mean that usually turns it. You know, the hatchlings always have an issue, and then size of. I didn't even touch on that. So size of I saw somebody online on one of the Facebook groups, say one of those advanced. I think it was a carpet python discussion board. Somebody posted a photo of a carpet python hatchling that's not eating in a massive cage. That's the worst thing you can do is put a small snake in a massive cage because they just feel exposed. It's like being open out in the bush and everything wants to eat it. Your role should be to make it as secure as possible for a snake. And a small hatchling should be in a small tub. I saw it with albino carpet pythons. I got the original albino carpets that I got from Simon Stone years back. 2005. I saw a photo today. It was 2005. I got my, even, you know, I think it was the first because there was an arrangement there. We had a deal going, and you know the first albino he didn't want to send it. He wanted to send it out with all the rest, and you know like backwards, forwards. Eventually he sent it before the rest came out of his facility. But the next lot that I got, they just went off food for like 3 or 4 months, 6 months even. Couldn't get them eating, and then he eventually asked me, "What do you keep them in?" I said, a cage. And he's like, "No, man, get a smaller tub. Put them in a smaller tub." I changed the accommodation, put a hide in there, smaller tub, more secure. And the snake ate the first night. I couldn't figure it out. And it was as simple as just decreasing the size of the enclosure that they're in. So, I mean, that's a big tip. Small enclosure, make it secure, give them heat, appropriate food. You know, don't start with pinkies. Oh my God, stop with the pinkies. Pinky rats. You know, that's what you start Antaresia on. And not even, I don't even, freaking Antaresia. Who cares? They're nice, don't get me wrong. But, you know, carpet snake in Australia. But then sub-adult mice, even adult mice when it comes to the bigger hatchlings. And just give them time. Don't be patient. You know, wait 30 days. I reckon 30 days is a sort of start worrying about them not eating it around 2 to 3 months. You know, there's no race, you know, but you know, I know a lot of us breed millions of snakes and then we get an issue with what do we do with all these snakes? A lot of people are like that. You want to be a breeder and you can't accommodate your snakes. You know, make sure you've got enough racking and make sure that's the first thing you need to spend money on when you're a reptile breeder is make sure you've got enough cages. And then before you start breeding hatchlings, make sure you've got your racks organized. Yeah. Hello, Camille. How are you? Yeah. So there's a recipe for feeding snake. Okay? Be awake. All right? Follow the recipe. Appropriate size enclosure, heat, hiding. Enclosure, heat, hiding, or hide. Water bowl, fresh water, always. Patience. Okay? That's it. Patience, I think, is the biggest key here. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for watching. Please go and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'm sure I'll be doing stuff on YouTube more because YouTube can take a lot better stream. Facebook is limited with the quality. I'm hoping the sound came through all right. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Yeah. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. It's not much. But in any case, thank you for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.